Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 291 for April 11th, 2023. I'm your host, Randy Snow. On this week's show, there was not one, but two overtime games in the XFL this past weekend, and Odell Beckham Jr. is now a member of the Baltimore Ravens. In this week's history lesson, we tell the history of the Fall Experimental Football League, or the FXFL. But I'm not here by myself. Across the table from me, as always, is my son, Adam.
Yeah, it's like we just hung out together for 48 to 72 hours nonstop for the last weekend.
About 800 miles, I think.
Oh, boy. And then we have to sit down and do a podcast together now? Goodness gracious. What did I sign up for? Man.
I don't know, but you're loving every minute of it.
It's something, all right.
We come to you each week from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with a glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube, where we post the entire audio portion of this show, as well as other selected videos. We're also on Amazon Music, so you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. So let's begin this week's show with Adam and the World of Football scoreboard.
That's right. We're going to have 15 games we're going to mention today for our World of Football scoreboard. And we start off with the XFL and Week 8 as teams are jockeying for playoff position. One team that isn't is the Vegas Vipers, who were already eliminated going into this week's games.
Yep.
And we were on at the stadium, saw this firsthand to see the Battlehawks defeat my Vegas Vipers 21-17 in overtime. The first ever overtime game in XFL history. What a special once-in-a-lifetime thing that you get to do, and that's history made in the XFL.
Yep.
All right, Battlehawks quarterback Nick Tiano played for the injured A.J. McCarron during the game, completing 19 passes for 194 yards and a touchdown. He also ran 8 times for another 51 yards. On the Vegas side of the ball, quarterback Jalen McClendon completed 13 passes for 159 yards and a touchdown. He also ran the ball 13 times for another 62 yards. St. Louis came back to tie the game at 17 apiece and force overtime. And then something we haven't really gotten to talk about on the show before, which is the XFL's overtime rules, which is essentially
we didn't even know what they were when they announced it was going into overtime.
I think I vaguely remembered it, but essentially it's like penalty kicks, but it's 2-point conversion attempts.
Right.
So you get 3 attempts at first, and if there's a winner at the end of the 3, game's over. If there's not, they keep going.
Right.
So the Battlehawks got 2 of their 3 attempts, and the Vipers couldn't get any.
Yeah.
I think by the time they even didn't have to do their last one because they were down by 4 by that would have been their last attempt. So it was no point in doing it. So that was your final there.
Well, luckily that was they all did this all in one end zone. All these extra point tries or 2-point tries, and it was right in front of us. We were sitting on about the 13-yard line, so it was right in front of us. Every one of those overtime 2-point conversion tries. So that was pretty cool. And it's. The first time that Vegas scored a 2-point conversion, I swear he was in. It looked like it to me, but they looked at it in replay, said he was short of the first time.
Yeah, I saw the replay too. I even watched the replay of the instant replay on YouTube after the game, and I still think he was in.
Yeah.
But whatever, it is what it is, I guess. And the Vipers got the shaft. And the second one, the offensive pass interference, I agree with. So. Hey, but maybe Vegas should have had at least a shot there for that one last
They should have won this game in regulation.
Yeah.
They were so far ahead. They manhandled this game most of the way. They had a letdown in the fourth quarter that allowed St. Louis to come back.
If it weren't for one of the greatest fake punts I've ever seen in my life.
That was awesome.
That place was dead to rights in that stadium. You could feel I was the only one cheering and clapping. You could hear a pin drop in that place until that fake punt happened. And then
I think a lot of people were starting to leave.
Oh, people were leaving
just before that happened.
Yeah. And then after that, it was a great comeback by the Battlehawks. Great atmosphere. I mean, we did make a video on it. I wasn't sure how much you wanted to dedicate time-wise on the show
Well, we're going
today.
to talk about our experience a little later.
Okay. We'll dive in a little bit, but we do have a video for those of you listening.
Yes, we'll mention
on
that
our
later.
YouTube channel. Our first travel log.
Yeah, that fake punt went for 64 yards, I believe.
Yeah, it was a heck of a play.
And that guy was so wide open, there was
Man,
nobody
nothing but
there.
green grass in front of him, and it almost got tackled at the end, but he just
Right.
got to that corner pylon.
Yep.
So
I thought the guy pushed him out of bounds at the one at first, but they said he got in, and
Great play.
I think he did.
All right,
let's continue.
Then after that game, we went back to the hotel room and watched as the Arlington Renegades defeated the Orlando Guardians 18-16. Renegades quarterback Luis Perez made his first start for the team after being traded from the Vipers. He then completed 16 passes for 190 yards and no touchdowns. For the Guardians, though, quarterback Quentin Dormady completed 28 passes for 303 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. He also ran the ball 5 times for 17 yards and another touchdown. Wide receiver Eli Rogers caught 10 passes for 135 yards and a touchdown. For Arlington quarterback, well, that's for the next game, so we'll skip over that. But anyway, watch this game. The Guardians had a shot towards the end. They just couldn't make anything happen. The Renegades hold on to win. I don't think either of these two teams were remarkably great, but I think seeing Luis Perez out there made him seem a little more competent at the quarterback position.
Yeah. We started out watching this game in our room, and then we went down to the bar/restaurant in the hotel, and we had a couple of steak dinners, and we watched some of the game while we were waiting.
Yeah, we watched the end of the game there.
Yeah. You didn't read the part here for San Antonio quarterback Jack
Well,
Cohen.
it's because San Antonio is the next game.
Did I put that in the wrong spot?
Yep, that's why I stopped reading it.
Okay,
man, he takes one vacation. He's already messing up the script, and I'm trying to read around it to make you not look dumb. And guess what you just did? You made yourself look dumb there, Randy. Way to go.
Continue, son.
All right. Well, then we're going to jump down. I guess we're done talking about that game. The Houston Roughnecks played the San Antonio Brahmas on Sunday for the second overtime game of the weekend.
Second in league history.
In league history. So we thought we were special, and then the very next day we got another overtime game.
Yep.
The Roughnecks won 17-15. They got one of their 3 2-point conversions there. The Brahmas just couldn't get anything there.
Yep.
The Roughnecks clinched the South Division with the win. Houston quarterback Brandon Silvers completed 17 passes for 146 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, while San Antonio quarterback Jack Cohn completed 23 passes for 190 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Now, this was one we didn't get to watch live because we were traveling at the time. But I went back, I rewatched the highlights for this one. The Brahmas were in it. The Brahmas had a chance, they were clawing back all game long. The Roughnecks should have pulled away, but they kept the Roughnecks within reach all game long, and were able to at least take it to overtime. Just they couldn't, finish it up there at the end. But kudos to the Roughnecks for clinching their division and a playoff spot.
Yep.
All right, and then finally in the game of the week, probably the greatest game in XFL history, as the DC Defenders squeaked by the Seattle Sea Dragons 34-33. DC clinched the North Division with the victory, and quarterback Jordan Ta'amu, apparently I've been saying that wrong, completed 17 passes for 247 yards and 4 touchdowns.
4 touchdowns.
And wide receiver Chris Blair caught 5 passes for 148 yards and a touchdown, while quarterback Ben DiNucci of the Sea Dragons completed 28 passes for 301 yards and 3 touchdowns. So a heck of a shootout between these two teams. Wide receiver Jawan Green caught 7 passes for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is your preview for the playoff game, I think. I mean,
could be.
We'll see. The Battlehawks now have a 1-game lead over the Sea Dragons. As we go down and quickly look at the standings, as in the North, we already talked about it, the Defenders at 7-1 clinched the division. The St. Louis Battlehawks sit at 6-2, followed by the Sea Dragons at 5-3, and then the Vegas Vipers eliminated at 2-6. In the South, you have the Houston Roughnecks, who clinched the South Division, apparently, even though that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because there's 2 games left, and Arlington's got...
Well, maybe they beat Arlington twice. I don't know.
Well, even if that's the case, if they lose 2 and Arlington wins 2, Arlington would get it. But so I don't understand how that worked. Unless you wrote their records down wrong, which I don't think you did.
I don't think so.
But anyway, The Roughnecks, I think they at least clinched a playoff spot. They might not have clinched their division.
I've seen both. At first, they said that they clinched a playoff spot, and then when the second game was over that day, then they said that they'd clinched the South Division.
Hmm.
So I was a little confused myself,
I'm
but
very confused because
they're
there's two
definitely
games.
in the playoffs.
Yeah, at least that. I don't understand where that confusion's coming from, but we'll quickly blow past it while everybody else is probably sitting at home screaming at us the correct answer. But anyway, Arlington at 4-4, very much alive. San Antonio at 2-6, I guess would technically. I haven't heard that they're eliminated. I
Yeah.
don't think the loss helped them, but they're at 2-6, and then the Orlando Guardians eliminated at 1-7.
Yeah, going back to the stats on this last game between the Defenders and the Seahawks,
The
Danucci
Sea
had
Dragons. The Seahawks play in the
Sea
NFL,
Dragons, yes,
Randy.
yes. Uh, Danucci had better stats for in a losing cause than Ta'amu did. But we've seen this a lot this season. Just because you've got better stats doesn't mean you won the game. And there have been many times
Yeah.
when one quarterback is so much better, but he still lost. And that was the case here in this game. And that was, I think we watched some of the end of this game, or I watched some of the end of the game, and man, it was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. This was a really good game. So yeah, I'm surprised that Seattle is actually third in the
They
North
aren't.
right
They aren't
now.
playing like a third player. They should probably be. That was probably the playoff preview we should get. But we'll
Well,
see if the Battlehawks keep winning.
The Battlehawks and the Sea Dragons play this week, so
Ooh, yep.
so
So
that will
that's a must win for the
yep
Sea Dragons there.
that's must see TV
I
right
think the
there.
winner probably gets the playoff spot.
Could be.
Especially if the Battlehawks win, I think then it's probably a done deal. All right, moving on. We had indoor league football league action this week as the Duke City Gladiators. We had a triple header on Saturday, a game on Sunday. The Duke City Gladiators defeated the Tulsa Oilers 57-36. Watched a little bit of this game. I love me the Duke City Gladiators uniforms. Kind of got that old school Leatherheads vibe with their jersey there.
Yep.
Then on the second of the doubleheader, the Tucson Sugar Skulls defeated the Arizona Rattlers 54-48. Then the San Diego Strike Force defeated the Vegas Nighthawks 37-36. Sunday saw the Sioux Falls Storm, defeat the Iowa Barnstormers 54-28.
Yeah, this was week 4.
54-24.
Yeah, this was week 4 action in the IFL,
Yes.
and yeah, some great games. Like you were flipping around to a couple of different games on YouTube.
Yeah, we were like in the hotel room Saturday night, and I
Yep.
was like, let's flip on some indoor football. We'll even talk about some Champions indoor football I tried to watch, and we also tried to watch some National Arena League.
Yep.
So
It's all out there.
Yep.
It's all out there. You may not see it on your TV, but it's all on YouTube or some other streaming
But I will
service.
say this before we jump to these other leagues. I dig the way that the Indoor Football League at least presents their game. There's a good uniformity there with game video quality. The announcing quality differs, I think, just depending on what arenas they're in. But
Right.
other than that, I think if you want to watch some good indoor football, pop on YouTube and you could watch one of these live streamed games. They do pretty good work there. But before we move on, we do want to mention on bye in the Indoor Football League this week, the Green Bay Blizzard, Quad City Steamwheelers, Frisco Fighters, Northern Arizona Wranglers, Massachusetts Pirates, and Bay Area Panthers. 6 teams on bye in week 4. All right, we're going to move on to Champions Indoor Football. We're going to throw it over to Randy, and there were 4 games in that league this week.
Yeah, nobody on bye in the CIF, and this was week 6 action for them. On Saturday, the Southwest Kansas Storm defeated the Topeka Tropics 36-24. The Omaha Beef over the Gillette Mustangs 51-29. Salina Liberty over the Billings Outlaws 33-30. And the Sioux City Bandits over the Rapid City Marshals 36-12. And those were all 4 Saturday games in the CIF. And then finally, in the National Arena League, it was week 1 for them. And they had 3 games on Saturday.
Also to mention, week 1, the first week ever for the National Arena League to use the nets.
Yes.
The patented arena football nets have made their way to the National Arena League, which I cannot believe. We watched one of these games, and we'll talk about it when we get there, but it was kind of disheartening to see.
Let's see. The San Antonio Gunslingers defeated the Carolina Cobras 41-40. The Fayetteville Mustangs defeated the Orlando Predators 68-43.
Which is also a record, by the way, I believe, for a team's first ever game in the National Arena League. The 68 points by the Fayetteville Mustangs was declared a record for the most points in a team debut.
I think it was a record for a week one score. I don't know. It might have been the way you said that, but the way I read it, it was a record for a team in the first week of the season.
Oh,
Not
maybe that's how it
not
was.
necessarily,
Regardless,
a
it was a
brand new
record.
team.
I just remember
Yes.
wanting to bring that up, and you
Yes.
didn't put that note in the notes.
No, I
so,
and finally, the Jacksonville Sharks over the West Texas Warbirds, 54-68. The Albany Empire was on bye this week.
and wouldn't you know it, the one game we stumbled upon, I think it was the Mustangs Predators game. We kind of started watching in the hotel room on the YouTube on my computer, and the first we were waiting to see something with the nets. We were kind of hanging around waiting to see something bounce off the nets or a field goal, maybe miss and hit the nets. And what did we see? The very first thing, a football get wedged in the iron.
Yep.
It has been so long since I've seen that image. I screenshot it.
Missed field goal or extra
man.
point.
It was an extra point.
Okay, it was point after.
Yeah, I think it was a point after, and it got lodged right in the in the.
Even the announcer said, "Well, that's going to be up there till the end of the game because it was way up there and it was wedged in there good."
It was funny. It was just funny that when we tuned in to watch it, that's the first field goal or thing with the nets we saw. It just cracked me up. But we did watch like some of the other indoor leagues, and I forget what game it was. But one of them had a great net advertisement. It had to have been for
a local attorney or
local
something.
Attorney's like it's like his headshot or like his ad with his phone number behind the goalpost.
Yeah,
in the indoor football league and in Champions Indoor Football. That's why I can't remember which one it was. It might have been the the Duke City game because they just dangle the goalpost from the ceiling, so it's just that U-shaped yellow you see. But on the net, it was just a picture of just some lawyer with his arms crossed
right between the goalposts. Like you aim for his nose and you'll get that.
I mean, good for them. They get some advertisement. It just cracked me up watching this game, being like, I can't take this seriously with this dude just standing there over the goalpost. It was like watching SpongeBob during the Slime Time games that they were doing on Nickelodeon.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the Bubble Bowl halftime show.
But they should do the SpongeBob Bubble Bowl halftime show at the Super Bowl one of these years.
Oh, they tried a year or two ago.
Did they?
Well, they did a little bit.
Why? Just because Katy Perry had a bunch of sharks come out with her?
I don't know. They were teasing that somehow they were going to work it in, and I can't remember if they actually worked it in or not. But
clearly they didn't. They must have dropped the ball on that one. But anyway, that's it for this week's World of Football scoreboard.
Yeah, 15 games. As the season has gone along, if we started out and we just had the XFL, so 4 games every week, and now we've got 3 other indoor leagues going on. I thought, man, how many games are we talking about? And this week it was 15. I think it was about the same last week. I didn't actually put a number to them, but
decided this week to start counting how many games we're talking about.
15 games. And people say this is the slow time for football. Hey, we reported on 15 games this week, folks.
And we watched all this stuff.
We watched
we didn't watch all of the games, but we watched the XFL, we watched indoor football, we caught some champions, and we caught some NAL action.
Yep.
So it's out there for you. You can't just be ignorant and be like, well, there's no football on right now.
Yeah, it's more than just the NFL out there, folks.
If you seek it, you will find it in the world of football.
Yep.
Add that catchphrase. If you seek it, you will find it. Man, I just deserve so much money for all these catchphrases I come up with.
Yeah, I don't know if that was that good or not.
Wow, you usually write it right down. Okay, that hurt my ego a little bit. Anyway, on to the news.
All right, we're going to start with some NFL news. The big news this week, wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. surprisingly signs a 1-year, $18 million contract with the Baltimore Ravens. Of that $18 million, $15 million is guaranteed.
He didn't play a snap last year, if I'm correct, right?
Well, all the talk recently was that he was going to the Jets. All these people on TV that are supposed to be so smart and they're idiots.
Well,
we're saying,
they're just filling airtime.
He's going.
They're like
to the
a couple of airheads right now talking into microphones.
Yeah.
We don't know what we're talking about half the time. But no, yeah, you're right. Everybody was kind of pondering that.
Well, that
he
was
going
what
to
all
the
talk
Jets.
was. Yes,
that's who Aaron Rodgers wanted.
Yeah.
And we all thought maybe they'd actually get it done the way things started kind of domino affecting.
But no, that was just a big surprise. I don't know how good he's going to be. Like you said, he didn't play last year, and he's.
Is this just a big thing to keep Lamar like, hey, Lamar, look, we got you a shiny new toy. Come sign a contract with us.
That whole Lamar situation was really frustrating. I mean, we listened to quite a bit of sports talk, driving home from St. Louis, and a lot of people were making some pretty good points, I thought, about the Lamar situation. Uh, how he's not. They don't think he's even going to play with Baltimore. They're not going to work out a deal, and they're not they're not sure. Nobody really wants him. Teams that have come forward have said, initially said, "Oh, we're interested in him," and when push comes to shove, they're like, "No, we're not interested in him." So he's got no place to go. He doesn't want to go back to the Ravens. He'd have to eat crow or whatever to go back there, and so it's a really really sad situation that
It's
somebody can't step in there and work this thing out for
it
him.
is a bit of a mess. I think something's going to go down. He's going to play next year. It's just a matter of maybe he does have to eat a little bit of humble pie, but that we're going to all forget about it. I mean,
Sure.
he'll probably still get a decent contract. I think just a lot of the reporting on his contract that he wants has been exaggerated, and so that's blown things up too. I think just from the media side of things, but I don't know. We'll let it shake out. It looks like he is excited. Like I think I saw a picture of him and Odell on a FaceTime together. So I don't know. Maybe this is something to where maybe the organization's taking some of his advice, like go get him some weapons, and you know maybe he'll knock something off of his request, like, hey, yeah, I'll take less guaranteed money. Thanks for getting me a weapon to throw to
Yeah.
you. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
We aren't in the room with Lamar. Lamar is acting as his own agent, so he's kind of doing things his own way, which I think people are looking at like, well, this is a messy way to handle it. It's like he's a player handling his own deal. That's probably what's going to happen. He doesn't have an agent to do this for him.
He has the right to do it on his
Yeah.
own. I mean, it's not something that he's not supposed to do. He has every right to handle his own
More
negotiations.
power to him.
So that's fine. But I just think he could use some help in this situation. I think, but
Maybe not. We'll see. Like I said, once it all shakes out and once the deal is done, then I think we can look back and be like, was it a good move? Was it a bad move?
Right.
It's hard to say right now because we're still technically in the thick of it. And maybe with the draft coming up, maybe a team will start getting desperate and be like, look, maybe we should, if we don't like where we're sitting in the draft right now, let's trade a couple first round picks, get Lamar in. Who knows? So much happens around the draft. And I think teams are still playing chess right now. So
right, yeah,
we'll see.
nobody wants to show their hand just yet.
Right. Yeah. Just yet.
All right. Another thing, the Detroit Lions have traded cornerback Jeff Okudah to the Atlanta Falcons for a 5th-round pick this year, in this year's draft. He was a 3rd overall pick in the 2020 draft by the Lions, and he just never really lived up to all the hype of being a 3rd overall pick.
Year one, he was he played a game and then he got injured for the whole year.
Injured for the first 2 years.
And then he'd been dealing with injury. He kind of came back slowly to start this last season. I think there was a point where he was locked in, I felt like. And then something happened maybe midway through the season. Once he got kind of locked in, he just started regressing. And I believe by the end of the season, was he not benched? I believe they benched him by the end of the year because we never heard his name those last few weeks. So I think something might have happened behind the scenes. Maybe there's something the Lions don't like about his attitude. He is a holdover from the Matt Patricia, Bob Quinn era, that 2020 draft. So who knows? But I think the Falcons, I think he could still be a very talented corner. Maybe he just needed a change of scenery. And Detroit got probably, I won't say great value, but I mean, for what the market's been, and wow, somebody's got his cell phone on. Way to go, Randy. Way to interrupt the podcast with your cell phone. Anyway, I think Atlanta could be a good fit for him. Maybe something in Detroit just wasn't clicking for him, and a change of scenery is best for both teams. The market value, we just saw Jalen Ramsey go for a 3rd-round pick in a trade. So what's Jeff Okudah going to fetch? It's not like Okudah's mounted to much other than having the distinguished title of being the 3rd overall pick in 2020. But wow, your phone is still vibrating.
Well,
let's try to call you. Is it a telemarketer? Is it an important call?
No,
Do we need to stop the podcast?
My family dentist is calling.
Oh, your family dentist? Well, put him on the podcast. Let's do it right now.
Probably want to.
How's Randy's fillings looking?
My future appointment.
Oh, what are you going to do to Randy's teeth? Let's find out right here live on the show.
Yeah, I don't even want to think about it. I've been putting off a procedure for about a year.
Oh, geez. That's not what we want to hear.
Yeah. All right, are we done with the Lions talk?
I guess.
Okay.
I keep getting lost because your phone kept vibrating. What are you... Any thoughts on Okudah in a 5th-round pick?
No, I mean he had really a lot of potential, but I just don't think he really worked out in Detroit. And like you said, maybe a change in scenery will do him good. And I wish him well. And but we've picked up a lot of defensive help this year,
Yeah.
so I think they looked at him as we really don't need him anymore. And they cleared up. I read it. I can't remember
I
how
think they
much.
cleared up
How
$10
much?
million in cap. They
Yeah,
still have to
cap's
pay
right.
$5 million of his guaranteed deal.
Yeah,
His contract would have been up at the end of this year anyway, so it's one of those other parts where it's
yeah,
they might not have even have re-signed him next year anyway. So just
yeah.
get him for something now, and you get a 5th-round pick. And the Lions have been
Yep.
Brad Holmes, the GM, has been really good about finding talent late in the draft. His 2 drafts, so I have faith that Brad Holmes could turn this 5th-round pick into something else, or maybe we package it in some more trades come draft time. So
Right.
I trust Brad Holmes.
Yep. Another story that came out this week, John Elway, at the age of 62, is no longer employed by the Denver Broncos. This came out of nowhere.
Yeah, this happened back on March 15th.
Right.
This actually happened, but we didn't
Right.
find out about it
Yeah,
till the middle of last week.
Nobody said a word. When his contract was up at the end of the year, that March 15th starts the new NFL year.
Right.
His contract was up at that time, and they didn't renew him, and he didn't renew. At first, I thought, they were getting rid of him, but it sounds more like it was just an agreement between the two, mutual agreement that he was kind of done, because he was the GM of the team from 2012 to 2020, but the last season or two he's been a consultant to the GM. So maybe he was just spending the last couple of years training his replacement on
just
what to do,
transitioning
and
out.
he figured, now it's time for me to go. I don't need this headache anymore, or whatever. So
And he said he's done with football, I think, in general.
yeah,
So
he wants to spend more time with his family, and that's
until
fine.
until he revives the Colorado Crush Arena football team next season and
Well,
makes more commercials with John Bon Jovi.
Well, when he took over as part of the Arena Football League is when they started going down. So I'm not a fan of John Elway and the Arena Football League. That was a bad combination. He's the one that forced them to do away with the Ironman football. So yeah, but he was there in Grand Rapids at the Arena Bowl 15. He was being introduced that day as
Right.
a part owner of the Colorado Crush. So he was there in Grand Rapids, but yeah, he made some changes, or he forced the league into doing this and that, and I was not happy with the direction that he wanted the Arena League to go in. So yeah, not a fan of John Elway.
Wow.
But well, you asked, so
I
I'm
did.
telling you.
I did. I brought it up.
But yeah, it was funny that this happened March 15th, and the team or John Elway didn't say a word about it for a month.
Yeah,
About a month.
at least 2 weeks, because it was
Here it's April 11th, so it's almost a month.
Well, it was last week during the middle of the week, so we're talking 2 weeks at least. Man, your family dentist is really trying to get a hold of you right now. Do you want to
Yeah,
just
they
answer
are.
this? Do we need to pause the podcast?
No, they're telling me they got an opening this week, and so I gotta get back with them and let them know if I want to come in for a cleaning or not.
All right. Well, I guess the show is greater than Randy's fillings. Let's move on.
Let's see. Donna Kelsey's custom-made jersey is now on display at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The mother of Travis and Jason Kelsey, who met in the Super Bowl this past year between the Chiefs and the Eagles, had a specially made jersey.
Half Eagles, half
Eagles, half Chiefs.
I think she even had 2 shoes, one with the Chiefs and one with an Eagles on
don't know
it. So
about
she got all decked out.
Yep.
And good for her having it displayed at the Hall of Fame. Either way, one of her kids is going to win a Super Bowl. Having both kids in a Super Bowl is a
Right.
big deal.
Right.
I mean, shoot, we had Amon-Ra St. Brown's dad, whenever him and Equiminius play each other,
Yep.
his family will
Bears and
rock
Lions.
half Lions, half Bears, and
Yep.
one year it was half Packers when Equiminius was with the Packers.
Yep.
So that's cool. I like that kind of, the parents can do that and support
Right.
both their kids. And it's cool seeing brothers play on the field against each other. It's just, it doesn't happen a whole lot. And, I think that's just a really cool thing. And I'm glad she's getting even more recognition, having it put up at the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. So if you want to see that up close and personal, I don't know how long it's going to be at the Hall of Fame. Probably for quite some time. Maybe.
Well,
into
Canton
next
is a
season.
hub city for the USFL. You might as well get out there and go check it out while you're over there seeing a USFL game this season, everybody.
Sounds good. Let's see. Another story we have: the Washington Commanders have settled one of their many lawsuits with the District of Columbia over season ticket deposit money. Now, you said you hadn't heard this one.
No, this is news to me.
Yeah, I read this earlier today. They just came out a few hours ago. But the $200,000 are being returned to Commanders fans, and they're paying. I guess you could call it a fine of $425,000 to the District of Columbia. The team was found to have held on to security deposits from fans.
Security deposits.
What did I say? Security
You said
deposits.
posits.
Security deposits from fans for many years instead of returning the money to them. I think it's probably for
Oh.
the personal seat license. And if you don't get the seat, you're supposed to get your money back, but they just never gave the money back to people or
Hmm.
something like that. So yeah, they were investigated for that, found that was what they were doing, and so they made them pay back $200,000 to people and fined them $425,000. And then finally, the last NFL story we've got today, another thing that just came out a little while ago, YouTube has announced the pricing for their Sunday ticket packages. That used to be with DirecTV for many, many years, and all of a sudden now it's going to be on YouTube. So uh, they've come up with the packages. I think you've got that in front of you.
Yeah, it looks like if you're already a YouTube TV subscriber, it's $349 a season. But if you purchase it before June 6th, you can save $100. So you'd instead be paying $249
Hmm.
for the season. But if you want to also include Red Zone in your bundle, which Red Zone, it works for some people.
Unless you're into fantasy football, I could care less
Or
about
if you
the
don't
Red
have
Zone.
a team and you just like watching the NFL,
Yeah.
then Red Zone's a great thing. We've done Red Zone a couple times. It's a lot. On a bye week when we don't have to watch the Lions, it is overwhelming.
It used
But
to be they would give it to you free like the first season, the
yeah.
Red Zone on our satellite system, and then you wouldn't get any more. And I could care less about
But
it.
if your bundle included the Red Zone and you're a YouTube TV subscriber, it's $389. Or you could also save the $100 again if you do it before that June 6th deadline. If you're a non-YouTube TV subscriber, it's $449 a season, and then $489 with Red Zone, and also again you get it before June 6th, you save the $100.
It's way too much money.
I think you're getting how many games? You're getting 16 games a week for 18 weeks. Probably even include some preseason.
And a lot of people probably could care less about all the games. They just want their team.
Maybe.
And there was talk that they were going to do that. They were going to come out with a package where you could buy just the Lions or all the Packers games or all the Vikings games. Whatever team you wanted, you could pay for that one team as opposed to getting everything. You'd save a lot of money, and I think you'd get more people to buy into it because a lot of people don't want to spend that much to have all the games available, and they're only going to watch a couple.
Right, and especially if you're in one of those markets where they black out games, this would be great. It's a streaming service, so hopefully it wouldn't get blacked out like it would on a local TV broadcast.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe there'll be more information to come. That's just what they released earlier today. But it is weird seeing that Sunday Ticket logo with YouTube on the logo now.
Yeah, man, that's the way everything's going now. Everything's going to a streaming service, and that's just the way of the world.
I'm not gonna lie. If I were living across the country or in an area where I couldn't catch Lions games,
oh yeah,
I would probably pull the trigger like today. As soon as I saw these prices, I'd probably be like, "Screw wait until June 6th.
yeah.
I'll save my $100 right now." 200, like especially if I had YouTube TV already, $250. That's not terrible. We've paid $250 for some dumb stuff over the years. All right, I'm just saying.
Well, I still haven't gotten my money back from those Toronto Argonauts tickets we didn't get to use last year. But
No, they never refunded you.
I never asked for a refund. It
Wow,
was our
so
fault we didn't go.
This guy's complaining, and oh my gosh.
I'm just saying we let that money go right down.
I never
the
got
toilet.
my money back. Well, I never asked for my money back
because
either,
I never
but
asked for it. So
That's your
so
fault.
we're out that
stop
money.
complaining. God, your generation.
I'm not complaining. I'm just
Jeez,
saying
boomer.
that's a fact. We ate those tickets or I ate those tickets because I think I bought them, and we just never used them because we never made it to the game. Okay, speaking of the CFL, what a great transition.
That might be your greatest transition of all time.
Former wide receiver Darren Flutie will be inducted into the Wall of Honor at the Hamilton Tiger Cats Stadium, Tim Hortons Field, on August 17th. He will be the 26th member of the Wall, and it's going to happen at halftime of a game with the Edmonton Elks. He was inducted into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame in 2007, a year before his brother Doug was inducted into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. So that's a great honor for him. A lot of people don't, everybody knows, yeah, Doug Flutie played up in Canada. You probably couldn't tell, a lot of people couldn't tell what teams he played for up there or whatever, but they know that he played in Canada. But a lot of people don't know that his brother also played up there and was a big star in his own right as a wide receiver for a couple of different teams. So, and Hamilton was one of them. So now they're putting him on their wall of honor up there. So congratulations, uh, Darren Flutie, and I hope your brother comes out to see the ceremony. And I threw that out there. Maybe you and I should go to that game on August 17th. I don't know what we got going on. I haven't looked that far ahead yet in my
It
schedule.
feels like it's forever from now, but
Yeah.
I mean, August 17th. Are you
Yeah.
sure it's the 17th of August?
That's what I have written down here.
That's a Thursday night.
Hmm.
That's why I'm wondering if you're getting your dates mixed up.
That's the date I saw. So I'm sorry. I'll correct it if it's not right. All right, a little USFL news. They're starting up their season this weekend, and the Birmingham Stallion players received their USFL championship rings the other day for this past season. They earned those at a game that was played in Canton, Ohio, and
Yeah.
we were there.
And we got
for
to
that
see
game.
the championship game. Our first USFL game was a championship. Well, my first USFL game was a USFL championship game.
Yep.
But hey, congratulations! Birmingham deserved it. They played a great game that day.
Mm-hmm.
But
you saw the picture of the ring.
oh yeah, I think it's a
nice
good
looking ring.
It's a solid little ring. Not too flashy for being the first USFL championship rings of this new iteration of the league. So, hey, kudos to them. And I didn't realize that the trophy was apparently like you don't get to keep the trophy. It's like a pass around. Like,
that I didn't know.
it's kind of one of those deals. I didn't realize that. So
okay. Okay, some college news. This was kind of sad. Simon Fraser University in British Columbia, Canada, has shut down its football program. They were the only team playing in Canada that was playing at the Division II level of the NCAA, basically the only NCAA team from Canada. And they've been playing at the NCAA Division II level since 2010. They changed their name a few years ago from the Clan to the Red Leafs, I believe. And the article I read said that they were supposed to be a member of the Lone Star Conference down in Texas. That makes no sense because last I knew they were playing in the Great Northwest Conference with a lot of teams from Washington State and Oregon and Idaho and that sort of thing. So I mean that made perfect sense. And just the other day, CFL Commissioner Randy Ambrosie is asking U Sports, which is their version of the NCAA in Canada, to allow the school to compete in Canada next year. So a lot of people are trying to save the football program at Simon Fraser. The owner of the British Columbia Lions is also asking people to, petition whatever governing body to get the team back on the field this fall. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully they can save the program, but right now the school says we've got no place to play, so we're gonna fold up our football program. So we'll see what happens. This is an ongoing thing.
This was a story that broke like as soon as we turned the microphones off last week. You got a message about it, and so you've had a week to kind of see what happens here.
Yeah, there's been a lot of every few days something else. At first it was the BC Lions just putting out a statement. And then a few days later, the owner of the team put out a video a statement. And then just a day or so ago, Randy Ambrosie, the CFL commissioner, put out a statement or a video talking about we need to save this football program. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, this is an ongoing thing, and maybe we'll have an update next week on this. Okay, we kind of talked about this earlier. We did go to see an XFL game, and we were at the Battlehawks game. We had seats in row 8 on the 13-yard line, so we had some great seats. Really close to the action.
Not that we got to sit in those seats for much.
No, everybody in our section was standing up all the time. Man, my feet were killing me. But it was funny. We got into that stadium at 10:30 a.m.
A little time. After they took.
It was about 5 minutes late.
Yeah, about 10 minutes late. They took their time opening the doors.
So we stood around outside for a little bit. But it's 10:30 in the morning local time, and you get in, you go through the security screening, and then you go up this escalator to the main concourse level, and immediately you are accosted by very aggressive beer vendors at 10:30 in the morning, trying to push beer on you. And And I'll tell you, most of the people that were at the game had already had a few before they got into the game,
Yeah.
especially the guy sitting in front of us. But yeah, I just thought that was very strange. Um, and my impression of the stadium was it is definitely showing its age. I
Mhm.
mean, this is where the St. Louis Rams played. You know, the Super Bowl champion Rams played in the stadium some years ago, and you know, they left town when they couldn't get a new stadium deal built. And boy, that place kind of is showing its age a little bit.
Little bit. I mean,
It
I'm not
does
gonna
need
say it
some.
was like in shambles, but I mean,
No.
just in terms of some of the seats, like yeah, these could
Yeah.
probably use some work.
Yep.
Some of the concessions, I mean, were pretty typical. Looks like they might have upgraded the concession stands a
Right.
tiny bit,
Right.
but other than that, like it wasn't a very modern looking stadium. It doesn't really feel like an NFL stadium anyway to
Mm.
begin with. Um, but I just don't know. It did just give that vibe of this is not worthy of an NFL franchise,
Yep.
which I hate saying because I think the fan base in St. Louis,
Yes.
incredible.
Yes.
But our experience with the city, between city, hotel, and
Stadium.
the stadium, St. Louis lacks a lot to be desired. So I'm not saying like
Well,
I understand why they moved
no.
from the
No.
city,
To
but
to be fair, there was a lot of construction
there
going
was.
on, and I think we just got there at the wrong time. You know,
Maybe it was.
there was construction around our hotel, a lot of streets. You know, my GPS was saying, you know, turn left onto the street, and you look down that street, and you see that it's closed off because of construction. So it was very difficult to get around the city. A lot of construction, a lot of things all tore up. Um,
I don't know, just from the vibe of that city, like people give Detroit a hard time. I'm sorry. St. Louis was not as good as Detroit. And
well,
Detroit's been on the upswing the last few years, but
yes.
I think maybe losing an NFL team
Mhm.
does that to a city, which is unfortunate
Yeah.
how integral like a sports team like that is to like the uh uh, economy of a city.
Yep.
But I mean, with the Battlehawks coming back, it was great and refreshing, packing in 35,000 people.
Oh yeah.
Uh, Phenomenal. So there's definitely a thirst and a hunger there, and it's growing. God forbid if the Battlehawks actually win a championship.
Yeah.
If more fans will start packing that place, and they'll have to start selling more tickets, to
Yeah.
get 80,000 fans in there every week. But it's just the vibe of that stadium. It is very it's weird saying it's outdated when I feel like 10 years ago it would have been right in line about where you would think an
Mm.
NFL stadium would be. But hence why the Rams were like, we see the writing on the wall. We need a new facility. And the city just wasn't willing to do it.
Yeah, I don't know if they need a new stadium, but they definitely needed improvements
Yeah, that's
to the
true. At
stadium
least
that's there right
a
now.
nice big overhaul. Cause
Yeah.
there were some aspects of that stadium I was like, really? Like, oh, what was it? Like some of this corridors, whatever, there wasn't really much there. Like, and even if they wanted to do something in some of that space, I don't know if they'd have space to do like what we see at Ford Field, where they kind of created space to have, a great little bar area or a little like party room, off to the side,
Right.
VIP stuff and, the kind of stuff you need for an NFL. Well, I won't say need, but that teams like to have for the NFL game day experience because guess what? That lures people in and gets you more money. So I don't know. It felt like a very outdated stadium, kind of like when we went to Carolina to see the Lions Panthers back in 2003. Even then, I thought that stadium was
2002.
2002. I thought that stadium was very antiquated and kind of
Mm.
a stadium of the past. And I don't know if they've done much to renovate that.
Mm.
So
Yeah, we've never been back there. But yeah, I was sitting there, you know, in the stadium, and as I'm looking around, I kept thinking this used to be an NFL stadium, you know, with the Rams playing here, the greatest show on turf, and you know, Kurt Warner uh,
Marshall Falk,
yeah,
Torrey Holt,
yeah, and who was the
Dick Vermeil
Dick
is the
Vermeil? Yeah, I
coach.
was trying to think of the coach's name, but you know that's where all this happened, and you can watch all those highlights, you know, on NFL Network, and what a great place and a great time it seemed like there, and now to see it kind of in the disarray that it's at right now, I mean it's not terrible, but boy does it need some work,
Yeah.
and hopefully you know they'll get it. You know I don't see him getting an NFL team back in that city
Uh,
unless they do some major renovations. I mean,
yeah.
it was a nice enough place, and it holds what you said,
There's
80,000.
like 80,000 seats.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
mean, and then they packed in 35 for the game we were
right.
at.
Yeah,
So
mainly the whole lower section and some of the the upper deck, around the 50-yard line or so. But it was a great experience. I'm glad we went there. I've always wanted to see that stadium, and I wanted to see St. Louis, and so we did that. And we spent a couple days there, and it was a quick trip down and back.
Oh, quick, a
Down one
6-hour
day.
quick trip.
Well, down one day, see a game the next day, back home the day after that. So we had some fun. You were all decked out in your Vipers hat and
Yeah.
T-shirt, and we saw a grand total of two other people.
I think, yeah, I could count on one hand. I saw 2 or 3 other people, but
Yeah.
I mean, we go into some more stuff, and there's more video of this on our YouTube channel, like I mentioned earlier. Feel free to jump over to that and check that out.
Yes.
Randy does his best attempt at doing a National Geographic documentarian voiceover in the video. So
But one thing I will say about St. Louis, they've had 3 home games now with the Battlehawks, 35,000, 32,000, and 35,000 again this week.
I think this is a great fan base. I
That
think these fans deserve a team.
they had their hearts ripped out when the Rams left town, and now they're putting all their love back into this team here. And boy, oh boy, did it show! There was so many people dressed up, faces painted, wearing costumes. The guy in the section next to us was wearing like an old time um, Red Grange uniform with
Yeah.
a leather helmet and just the shoulder pads and everything, and that was kind of cool.
We saw a Mandalorian with a
Yep,
Battlehawks
yep.
theme.
Mandalorian helmet went down the aisle right next to us, and it was a lot of crazy things. But the fans love that team. They support that team. They shouldn't have won this game, but uh, they were supporting that team. Even though a few people did kind of leave a little early when it looked like they were going to lose because they were behind, but then they made a furious comeback,
It's like they didn't
tied
watch
it
the
up,
first
and
game of the season when they
yeah,
came back.
yeah. So uh, great experience. Glad we did it, and best of luck to the Battlehawks the rest of the way this season. All right, we have a couple. We have one birthday today for April 11th. Defensive back Terry Hogue turns 61 today. He played his college football at the University of Georgia. He was selected in the 3rd round of the 1984 NFL Draft by the New Orleans Saints. He played 12 NFL seasons between 1984 and 1996 with 6 different teams: the Saints, the Eagles, the Redskins, the Oilers, the 49ers, and the Arizona Cardinals. He won Super Bowl 26 as a member of the Redskins, and he was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1983. So happy birthday to Terry Hogue. And we have one obituary this week, and this is where we take a moment to honor those who've made the world of football a better place. Our one obituary this week is that of Mickey Slaughter, a quarterback in the American Football League for 4 seasons. He has passed away at the age of 81. Slaughter played college football at Louisiana Tech and was selected in the 7th round of the 1963 AFL Draft by the Denver Broncos. He played for the Broncos from 1963 to 1966. He then became the offensive backfield coach at Louisiana Tech from 1966 to 1978, where he coached quarterback Terry Bradshaw. Slaughter was inducted into the Louisiana Tech Athletic Hall of Fame in 1987. All right, anything on your phone that we need to talk about before we go into this week's history lesson?
Not really breaking news. Looks like some more teams, like the Defenders and the Roughnecks, are advertising the season ticket packages for next year, like you were talking about last
Yep,
week.
had a couple of teams last week.
So other than that, though, no breaking news as of right now.
Okay. Well, let's get into this week's history lesson. And this week we have the history of what was known as the Fall Experimental Football League, or the FXFL. Like the United Football League a few years earlier, the FXFL was designed to give players a chance to showcase their skills and possibly move on to an NFL or a CFL team. It played 2 seasons in 2014 and 2015. In their first season, the league fielded 4 teams: the Brooklyn Bolts, Florida Black Tips, Omaha Mammoths, and Boston Brawlers. The Black Tips were a traveling team because they could not strike a deal for a home stadium. The Brawlers played their home games in the historic Harvard Stadium. The Brooklyn team played at MCU Park, a minor league baseball stadium near Coney Island. Players earned $1,000 per game, which were played in the fall during the week so they would not conflict with college or NFL games. The FXFL experimented with a few different rules. One was that extra points were attempted from the 35-yard line. Ironically, in 2015, the NFL moved the point after try from the 3-yard line to the 15-yard line. The league began play on October 8, 2014. The 4 teams played a 5-game schedule over 9 weeks. The season was cut short due to financial issues and low attendance. The championship game, which was scheduled for November 26th, was also canceled. The Brooklyn Bolts had the best record at 4-0 and were declared the 2014 champions by the league. Still, the FXFL returned for a second season in 2015. This time, a 6-game schedule was planned. However, there were only 3 teams this time around. The Brooklyn Bolts returned, but the Omaha Mammoths did not. The Brawlers were moved to Niles, Ohio, and were set to play as the Mahoning Valley Brawlers. Unfortunately, they were abruptly folded by the league without warning just days before their first home game. A new team called the Hudson Valley Fort were then created in Fishkill, New York. The Black Tips remained a traveling team. Like the 2014 season, the 2015 season was cut short, and there was no championship game played. The Brooklyn Bolts were once again crowned champions based on their 4-1 record. 2 notable players in the FXFL were quarterback Josh Freeman and offensive lineman Mike Golick Jr. Both played for the Brooklyn Bolts. Golick, who played college football at Notre Dame, played in 2014 and was named an FXFL All-Star. Freeman, who was a first-round draft pick of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers out of Kansas State in 2009, played for the Bolts in 2015. One of the executives of the FXFL was Brian Woods, who would go on to create the Spring League in 2017. In 2022, the Spring League rebranded itself as a new version of the USFL from the 1980s, using the same team names and logos. The FXFL was only around for 2 seasons, but they would not be the last failed league to try and become a feeder league to the NFL.
Once again, you can catch the video version of that history lesson on, let's see, tomorrow. Wednesday morning is when we'll be posting that.
On YouTube.
On YouTube. If you're not subscribed to our channel, why not? That's where we're posting all the stuff.
Now, you remember this league, because that
I
wasn't that long ago.
Vaguely recall. I remember it being mentioned. I never watched a game on TV, never found it. It wasn't until, a while later that I found out, like, Mike Golick Jr., the radio host on Golick and Wingo, was part of that league. So, yeah, I didn't really know much about this league. I thought it was a failed attempt at, like, rebranding the XFL, but I just never paid attention. When this league was around, I didn't pay attention to it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no,
You were more aware of it than I was.
Yeah, I was. When that one team moved to Mahoning Valley in Ohio, I was all set to we were going to shoot down there for a game, and in their second season, and I never got the chance because they folded that team like a week before the first game, and I didn't buy tickets or anything. We were just going to show up. I figured, what the heck, they'll have tickets for sale. There won't be that big of a crowd, so that wouldn't be a problem. But yeah, didn't even get a chance to do that. So, but yeah, just another feeder league that lasted 2 years and they were gone.
I will say that the Brooklyn Bolts helmets, though, look eerily similar to the San Antonio Brahmas helmets now. The way that lightning bolt kind of goes up the helmet.
Yeah, you're right.
They had a little bit. When I was putting together the video version for you, I was like, wait a minute, these Brooklyn Bolts helmets look very familiar. I wonder if the Brahmas might have caught whiff to these. And I thought that was a great logo. I think the logos in that league I liked quite a bit. It's a pity that there were only 5 teams all together.
Yeah, the Boston Brawlers, that logo was awesome.
That's a cool one. I like the black tips. I like the Brooklyn Bolts. The only one I really wasn't crazy about was the Fort.
Oh yeah,
Fort. I forget the first name.
Hudson Valley Fort.
Hudson Valley Fort, I think. Yeah. Other than that, I liked all their logos, even the Mammoths.
Oh, the Mammoths were cool. Yeah, and they were only around for 1 year. So, oh well. All right, upcoming events calendar. This Sunday, April 16th, the USFL regular season begins, and we just got tickets to a game.
Yeah, we did. Very excited about that. We might even throw up a USFL video this week before the games come out.
Yep.
So be on the lookout for
season
that.
preview.
Yeah, we'll do a little season preview.
Yep. Thursday, April 27th through the 29th, the NFL draft in Kansas City. So we're only a couple weeks away from NFL draft time.
Oh God, maybe we haven't talked about this. I'm kind of thinking maybe we should live stream you watching the Lions pick there. Just the one pick, not the whole draft, but just to see what the Lions do. I think that could be fun.
You can record it, but I got a feeling it won't be usable.
It'll just be you going,
Who?
who?
I've never even heard of this guy.
What?
Wasn't he injured the last 3
a
seasons?
water boy?
No. Brad Holmes has done a great job.
Yep.
So
In Brad Holmes, we trust.
even if I've never heard of the guy that he's picked, I'm going to say, okay.
I mean,
All right,
think of last year's draft. After Hutchinson and trading for Jamison Williams, a bunch of guys we probably wouldn't have heard of.
Yeah.
And shoot, half of them became starters.
Yep.
I mean, we all became, thanks to Hard Knocks, became fans of Malcolm Rodriguez late in the draft. Kirby Joseph came on late in the year, so a lot of stuff can happen. And hey, those later rounds are where the teams are made.
That's right. Tuesday, May 2nd, the CFL draft takes place in Toronto.
We can live stream you listening to that voice call.
Yeah, I could maybe watch it on the internet, but that's as far as you're going to go. You're not going to see it on TV around here anywhere. And then Saturday, May 13th, the XFL Championship game being played down in San Antonio. Friday, May 22nd, the CFL preseason begins. So we're about a month away from CFL preseason action.
Oh, my gosh.
Let's see. Thursday, June 8th, CFL regular season kicks off. And Thursday, August 3rd, the Pro Football Hall of Fame game in Canton between the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets.
And the Jets could be one of those Hard Knocks teams. That's something else we didn't talk about this week. They did.
Oh yeah, Hard Knocks.
They did list the list of 4 teams that are eligible for Hard Knocks this year.
Jets are the only one I remember. I know you read them off to me when you saw it.
Yeah, it was like the Jets, the Bears, and if you give me 2 minutes.
2 minutes?
Oh, maybe not that.
We don't have 2 minutes.
If you give me a couple seconds here.
Yeah, but there were 4 teams.
I think. Okay, here we go. It is the Jets, Bears, Saints, and Commanders. So,
okay.
Yeah, of those 4 teams, I think the most interesting team would be the Jets.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because I don't want to see Aaron Rodgers on my TV screen more than I have to.
No.
But oh my God, if he draws this out, and is he even going to come to training camp? Oh, you bet your bottom dollar I'm going to be sitting there every week when this show comes on, being like, "You idiots, you made the wrong decision to go for this dude, and look what he's doing to you." And then he'll show up.
If you watch an hour of Hard Knocks, and it's all coaches in the office going, "Is Rodgers going to be here? Is Rodgers coming?"
Nah, and I picked the Jets because my friend Eric, who actually texted me about Jeff Okuda, like, why'd the Lions make this trade? He's a big Jets fan, so it'll be fun to maybe watch and learn a little bit about his team. So
okay,
because you know me, I like Hard Knocks. I watch it every year now. It's kind of like my pre-NFL appetizer. Like, I'm not really into the preseason anymore, but this Hard Knocks, I'll get into that.
Well, I've seen a few Hard Knocks. I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of it. I did like watching the Lions on it.
Everybody loved the Lions.
I didn't want them to be on Hard Knocks. I was against it.
People want them to go back on Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
That's how good the Lions were. That people are like, can we just have the Lions again on Hard Knocks, please?
All right.
I mean, if you had that option, would you want the Lions back on or one of these 4?
No, I think it's too much. Maybe.
I mean, they do have those rules for a reason. They have the rules for a reason.
Yeah.
And I can go through those again real quick.
No,
yeah. Well, I'm gonna. They have to have if they have a first-year head coach in place, they aren't eligible. If they have a playoff berth in the past 2 seasons, they're ineligible. Or if they have appeared on Hard Knocks in the past 10 years, they're ineligible. So the Lions couldn't even be back on again for another 9 years. So.
Good. That's fine by me. Okay, anything else?
That should do it. No breaking news, other than Randy dodging his dentist all podcast long.
Stop bothering me.
Luckily, I don't know if people would have heard. They might have heard the ringing, but I don't know if they would have heard the vibrating.
No, they wouldn't have heard the buzzing.
The microphones have been really good about.
If you hadn't brought it up, they would have not have known that.
We'll
find out. I knew they'd call me back.
We'll find out when we listen to the podcast again. If the ringing showed up.
All right, that's all the time we've got for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we've done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
You can also like the World of Football on Facebook at TWOF Kalamazoo. You can also follow us on Twitter at TWOF Kalamazoo. New episodes of this very podcast are posted on Tuesdays and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube, where we drop the whole audio version of the podcast there for you to enjoy. You can also go to that YouTube channel by searching for it in the search bar, The World of Football Kalamazoo, or simply use the handle youtube.com/@theworldoffootball. We are also on Amazon Music, so simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast to listen to us in your ear holes. Feel free to subscribe, rate, review, give us a like, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think on any of these platforms. We don't care. We just love hearing from you. And please come be a part of the football conversation. And, we've gotten quite a few people chiming in, especially after our little travel log. One guy commented that he was 6 rows away from us. So I guess we're starting to cultivate a cult. And pretty soon Randy and I will be leading meetings in football robes out in the middle of cornfields. And feel free to come up and say hi and join that cult.
I just want to say one more thing about the travelogue video.
That's all we have time
you
today.
You did a great
for,
job of taking all the footage that you took, during our trip, during the game, eating in the restaurant. Yeah, and making fun of me. But I do want to say that if you go to YouTube and you watch that travelogue video of us going to St. Louis, at the end we tease something about another future upcoming video. And I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you'll just have to go watch it.
We're hoping it'll be a series of videos, but somebody's got to get to writing that script. I got all that footage sitting there.
Yeah, I know. I meant to do some of that today, but I finished up the script for today's show early, and I did some yard work. So it's really nice out there. It's 70 degrees or close to 70. So, yeah, it's very nice around here. All right. And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than we do. Until next time, when we'll try and do a better job, I'm Randy Snow.
And I'm not dodging my dentist.
We'll see you all next week.